welcome for the ones that just entered this space. And I feel called to say the name of the workshop that we are embracing, all of us, soul and spirit, and spiraling up and down, reaching the innate resources. I love also this second part of our workshop, the name of our workshop, spiraling up and down, meaning traveling in the depths and traveling in the sky. So yeah, real delight that you have said yes to such spaces and such opportunities. And you have chosen in this very moment to dedicate your presence to this workshop. Thank you.
Let us then begin. Let us begin in spiraling up and down, accessing innate resources, honoring soul and spirit. Let's do that by lighting a candle together. This is the moment to bring your candle close to you. And with the matches that you have around you or the equipment that you have, let us light the element of fire. And let's have the element of fire here with us. It is said that the whole world was created out of a spark, the whole cosmos. So maybe we are holding now and we are being witnessed by the most ancient force in the whole world. If you have smudging or incense around you, you may also use it at this moment. With the intention of blessing this newly beginning of the workshop, new beginning of this workshop. Maybe a new window of possibilities also for you, for us, for the world. And so by smelling the incense, you may have the element of fire entering your lungs and entering your being. And may this fire be our guide today. Here's a poem with which we want to offer another blessing to this new beginning. It's called Today by Mary Oliver. Today I am flying low. Today I'm flying low and I'm not saying a word. I am letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. Today I'm flying low and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must. The bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the nuts getting eaten, and so forth. The world goes on as it must, the bees in the garden rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the nuts getting eaten, and so forth. But I am taking the day off. Quiet as a feather. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. But I am taking the day off. Quiet as a feather. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness. stillness, one of the doors into the temple. One of the doors into the temple. So with this poem still echoing in our psyche, I'm inviting all of us to enter the temple of stillness, and just for a few seconds, maybe a minute or so, be in complete stillness, quiet as feathers. And perhaps you might want to close your eyes, or you might want to stare at the fire, at the candle. And through this stillness, may you cross the threshold of the ordinary world and whatever you have been doing before, and enter into the sacred realm. Here we start now. Stillness, quietness, vastness. Few more seconds of savoring this stillness, the fruitfulness of these, and few more seconds of acknowledging the temple in which you have just arrived. Maybe it's the moment to take a couple of few breaths and land here into the temple further and further, honoring soul and spirit together for the next 2 hours and so, and the next 2.5 hours tomorrow. So gradually you may tremble your eyelids and come back here in this circle. So let us take this moment off and be truly here.
Mm. Mm. So the places and the ways we are receiving the world around us matter. Hopefully, through this welcoming ceremony, lighting the candle and smudging the place, you are already entering in a different kind of place, shifting your awareness, shifting your consciousness, and being more prepared to step into a deeper place and a higher place of soul and spirit. We are already, from the very beginning, starting the symbolic language to be spoken in the field. So let's indeed continue. And from this place, we, both Eleni and I, we would like to share a few words about who we are, the guides, the holders of this space, of these workshops. And I will start by introducing myself. So I am Sandra Horia. I am a soul initiation guide. I am courting, embodying, facilitating love and death in the world. Because I believe they are necessary allies in the journey of transformation. I am one who is supporting humans in remembering and embodying the sacred truth they are here to make manifest. And I have studied with Bill Plotkin and other gifted guides. I studied eco-depth psychology, practices of wholeness and healing. And now I'm continuing even on a deeper path, my studies in the realm of soul initiation. And in my work and in my lovemaking, so to say, I am working with humans and I am inspired, definitely inspired by the wondrous nature, the wisdoms that are embedded in the wisdom of the creatures out there, the wild ones, as well as I'm using rituals and ceremonies in my work, as well as poems and stories, and the realm of the subconscious, which is deep imagination and dreams. And I do hope that my experience and expertise here will be of support throughout the workshops and maybe further. Yeah, so this is a little bit about who I am. And I'm probably the most important thing of my presentation. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Thank you, Sandra. Delighted to have you with us. So my name is Eleni Mikhail. I am living and I'm born here in Cyprus, which is my place in the world. And from this place, I am aiming to serve this little place and the whole world too. I'm a human development guide. I am working with people, and I'm a faithful believer of transformation. I'm a really faithful, blind believer of transformation, of the possibility that each human being has within them to transform their lives. And as I was reflecting recently, going back in time, even beyond the time I was human development guide, I realized that I am working on a revolution, on a personal and a cultural revolution. And I'm doing this through guiding people, through holding ceremonies, through offering rituals and everything that is needed in order to tend the sacred, in order to remember the sacred, in order to hold that thread that each one of us is born with. And what else can I say about me? Maybe the ways we work are similar with Sandra, and maybe this is what brings the two of us together to co-weave. I believe that the two of us are co-weavers. We're weaving together, and may today we weave and serve you in the best possible way, and not just you, but also your people and your landscapes and the whole earth. So this is a little bit about me and maybe us. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you, Eleni. And thank you for listening, who we are. It's an honor to have you with us. And now maybe you're curious a little bit about these online workshops. And I will just take a few moments here to tell you the big umbrella under which these workshops are living and are being created. So these workshops are part of a very big dream, a big dream that we are calling it From Caterpillar to Butterfly. It's an Erasmus strategic project co-funded by the European Union. And through this project, we are addressing really the deep longing for meaning and for fulfillment and for a healthy maturity of young people and of anyone else who is interested in this work. A healthy maturity. I'm underlining this. This is what we're doing. This is the metaphor. This is what is the metaphor about. From caterpillars, from consuming, from getting bigger and bigger to manifesting and arriving to being butterflies that are pollinating, that are enchanting the world with their beauty, that are absolutely knowing who they are. Something like that we are envisioning through this project. And it's a long project and embodies a lot of different elements. These online workshops are one of the ways that From Caterpillar to Butterfly is being manifested. And other ways is we have a trilogy of 3 programs that some very lucky, I hope, human beings are being part of. And they will go through 3 programs, one in Romania, one in Cyprus, and one in Italy, where they will experiment. How is it to be a caterpillar? How is it to then later be in a cocoon? And only after that, being a butterfly. And they will inform others, their people from their communities. And among them, maybe you are also one of the beneficiaries of this work. Other ways in which we are offering ourselves through these projects are maybe a series of podcasts that will soon appear, maybe a manual that is called Guide to Soul, and many other yummy, delicious ways of engaging the world with this work of soul and of transformation, and serving the grand topics of personal transformation and cultural revolution. Yeah. So this is a little bit about the big project and now the 2 workshops that we are offering. Let's continue with yet another poem. You will hear quite some poems today. And this is a poem that is called Clearing. Clearing by Martha Postlethwaite. And may it touch you, and may it speak to you, and may you be a receiver of it. Because the place and the ways we're receiving things matter. So it goes like this. Do not try to save the world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Here's one more time. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing. Create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait. Wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Only then. Only then. you will know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Clearing our poem. And this poem speaks, at least to the two of us, Eleni and I, and hopefully to you and to the whole world, so much. And it's somehow describing our time together today and tomorrow, describing what soul and spirit is all about. Create a clearing in the dense forest sounds to me as something like spirit, invite spirit into your life. Create a clearing and wait. Make yourself available, wait, connect with the spirit and wait. Until the song, in other words, maybe the soul, until the song of your life falls and you recognize it and you greet it, until that particular uniqueness that is only yours to inhabit falls into your hands. And only then you will know how to give yourself to this world that is so worthy of rescue, that needs you, that needs our souls, that needs our maturity. So the poem is so rich that we could spend the whole day just dwelling in its wisdom and metaphors. And here, hopefully you have seen how soul and spirit and offering yourself is living in this poem. And maybe a little bit more to say here is that we want to address through these online workshops some innate resources, as we have said previously, spiraling up and down. And maybe it's worth mentioning that we are three-dimensional human creatures. And I've learned this term and this concept by my teacher, from my teacher, Bill Plotkin. And actually we are presenting here one of his models, the nature-based map of the human wholeness. This is one of his models that you can find it in his book, Wild Mind. And this model is really speaking about these three dimensions. Well, mostly speaking about one dimension, and the dimension of the consciousness, of the awareness, of where our ego, mature and immature ego, lives. And Elenina and I, we have spoken a lot about these resources, this wholeness, that we have a set of resources that are innate and that are showing an embodied way how to manifest our potential in the world. So this is our mature ego, as well as we have our immature ego, the wounded and fragmented parts of our psyche that are maybe keeping us small and are there to defend any danger that our life might encounter. And this is one dimension of who we are. This is the level of middle world, the consciousness. And today and tomorrow, we are going to travel up and down in the upper world and in the underworld, in the world of spirit, of the oneness, of the one that animates and creates all this beauty that is out there and inside of us, and in the underworld of soul, the uniqueness, the seed, the image, the truth that we were born with. So these are three different levels of consciousness. And we are going to explore now the level of spirit and the level of soul. Yeah. Hopefully curious and thirsty and hunger for more.
Yes, hopefully hungry and thirsty for more, because we are now offering another poem. And yes, there will be many poems today and tomorrow, as we believe in the power of art, in the power of poetry, and the way each poem touches uniquely, in a very unique way, each one of us. So let us open further our hearts to one more poem, which is called Boundaries. And maybe this poem will lead us in one of the other two directions, other than the middle world. This poem is by Lynn Ungar. So here comes the poem, Let It Find You. The universe does not revolve around you. The stars and the planets spinning through the ballroom of space dance with one another, quite outside your small life. You cannot hold gravity or seasons. Even air and water inevitably evade your grasp. Why not, then, let go? Why not, then, let go? You could move through time like a shark through water, neither restless or ceasing, absorbed in and absorbing the native element. Why pretend you can do otherwise? The world comes in at every pore. The world comes in. Where? In you, in every pore, mixes in your blood before breath releases you back into the world again. Did you think the fragile boundary of your skin could build a wall? Did you think the fragile boundary of your skin could build a wall between you and the whole world? Listen. Every molecule is humming its particular pitch. Listen, every molecule is humming its particular pitch. Of course you are a symphony. Of course you are a symphony. Whose tune do you think the planets are singing as they dance? Whose tune do you think the planets are singing as they dance? So let this poem bring you into planets spinning through ballrooms in which one is dancing with the other. Let this poem bring you into the sea, where you, like a shark, move through water, absorbed and absorbing. Let this poem take you into a symphony that every molecule is humming. The poem is asking some questions which I want to repeat here. Why not then let go? Why not then let go? And did you think that the fragile boundary of your skin could build a wall? Do you think the fragile boundary of your skin could build a wall between you and everything else? Whose tune the planets are singing for as they dance? Whose tune do you think the planets are singing as they dance? So I'm curious if you have an intuition. Where does this poem, in what realm does this poem bring you? Of course, it brings us to the spirit, to the upper world, to this oneness, to this divinity or mystery, God or goddess, name it the way you want, the one that brings and holds everything and everyone, including me, including you. That kind of force that has this huge embrace, in which we're all coming from and we all belong in and we're all blessed with. This upper world spirituality, the spirit, could be also called as the universal consciousness and intelligence and wisdom that creates, as Sandra said earlier, and manifests and blesses us with miracles all around and all in, because we are also miracles, right? Think about just the way we breathe without putting any effort, without putting any attention, how all our system is moving and creating and bringing us forward and giving us opportunities for life, deeper life. Well, all this is miracle, and all these are gifts from spirit, as much as are the butterflies around and the bees and the water, which makes this huge, immense journey from the depths of the wombs of the earth to the surface, to the rivers, to the sea, to the sky, back into the earth, and so forth. So the world could be mesmerizing when we look at it from the eyes of the spirit. The world is full of wonders when we look at it with this perspective, with this mindset. And that's why it's a huge embrace, because it can hold everything and everyone. And in this way, we are connected not just with our siblings and family members, but we're connected with the soil of this planet and the earth and the sky of this planet, but also with the planets and the moon and the cosmos all around.
Every being, I wanted to say every child, but it's more than that. Every being that is being born is first and foremost dreamed and wanted by a greater force. Like, we are really not choosing. It's like, oh, I'm going to, to choose life, and I'm going to be birthed. No, someone somewhere out there is choosing for us, is wanting us. There's a desire for us to be in this body, and for the butterfly and for the lake and for the tree to be in their bodies in this shape. Life itself is a miracle. Our own life is a miracle as well. And whoever is creating this miracle is giving birth to this magnificence of butterfly and cascades and mountains and hummingbirds and daffodils and wolves and you name it, on and on and on. Whoever has this capacity to love life in such an abundant way, I trust. It's like an artist, and we refer it to it as spirit. Yeah, universe, the spirit, we can call it as we want, doesn't really go anywhere. It's a steady presence, and it's waiting for us in the stillness, in the temple of stillness. Remember, Eleni was inviting us all in the temple of stillness, and on one poem before the last one was inviting us to wait in this presence of spirit. Sometimes we might act out as if we might act out the drama of being alone, but really we are never alone. We are never alone. You are not alone. This one who ushered you and who wanted you in this life is there with you. And maybe one more idea here. Maybe there is an expectancy, perhaps, of the spirit for our soul to blossom in the world. There is a way, perhaps, the universe, the spirit longs for us to be in relationship with everything else. Just, yeah, feel into that and feel into the possibilities that a deep connection with spirit would enrich us with this almost, I want to say, non-gender parent. Yeah, it's not a mother or a father, it's just a parent, a creator, an artist, one who loves. From my perspective, is one who loves and who is teaching us how to love as well. This divine love. Divinity is another word that we could use for spirit, but let us not be caught in too many words or concepts, but rather to feel the explanation and the description inside our bodies and in our heart. Yes. So this is a little bit about the spirit, about the traveling in the spirit realm. Eleni, do you have anything else to add here?
I just want to drop a few more drops here in the elixir of spirit, that this one invites us into a particular awakening, to transcendence, to rise into the lightness, into the heavens, to detach from the small earthly story, and connect with this vastness of possibilities, or of impossible possibilities. And I loved what you said earlier, Sandra, about this. It's a way of loving, and therefore, without being connected with that spirit, with the force of the spirit, we might feel incomplete. We might feel not belonging. So this one offers us this invitation of something greater than ourselves, a wisdom beyond our conscious one, and yeah, this huge love with which blesses and gifts all of us. Yeah.
All right, dear ones. So from the realms of the spirit, or from spiraling up, we are now spiraling down. We are spiraling down. And here's a poem that would introduce us to this new place, to this realm. And it's a poem by David Whyte, and it's called What to Remember When Waking. In that first hardly noticed moment in which you wake, coming back to this life from the other, more secret, movable, and frighteningly honest world where everything began, there is a small opening into the new day, which closes the moment you begin your plans. What you can plan is too small for you to live. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your sleep. To be human is to become visible. To be human is to become visible while carrying what is hidden as a gift to others. To remember the other world in this world is to live in your true inheritance. You are not a troubled guest on this earth. You are not an accident amidst the other accidents. You were invited from another and greater night than from the one to which you have just emerged. Now, looking through the slanting light of the morning window, through the mountain presence of everything that can be, what urgency calls you to your one love? What shape waits in the seed of you to grow and spread its branches against the future sky? Is it waiting in the fertile sea? In the trees beyond the house? In the life you can imagine for yourself? In the open and lovely white page on the writing desk? Hmm. So what to remember when waking? And I feel called to read this poem again, and I will probably drop some comments, some own weaving of this poem, just to make a point here with soul. I hope. Hopefully it will be successful. So let's see. And please, perhaps you have your own conclusions, and you should have them and bring them along with you. So here we go once again through the poem with some extra flavors. So it goes like this. In that first hardly noticed moment in which you wake, coming back to this life from another more secret, movable, and frighteningly honest world where everything began, meaning perhaps from the spirit world, there is a small opening into the new day which closes the moment you begin your plans. What you can plan is too small for you to live. And I add, what ego, even a mature ego, our consciousness is planning is too narrow for us. We continue the poem. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your sleep. Meaning, maybe, wholeheartedly, meaning courageously, letting what is hidden in your sleep, meaning soul, to make plans for you. Allowing soul to guide you, to have its way with you. Continue the poem. To be human is to become visible while carrying what is hidden as a gift to others. To remember the other world in this world is to live in your true inheritance. Meaning maybe to be fully human is to find that which is hidden in the other world, meaning your soul, and through the embodiment of it, being a gift, being yourself a gift for the world. You are not a troubled guest on this earth. Remember, we said that spirit is wanting you here on the planet, so you're not a troubled guest on this earth, although maybe sometimes we do feel like that. And maybe perhaps sometimes that is helpful because it's ushering us into big questions and into feeling the longing to fully feel that we are inhabiting, and this world is not something that we visited, but this world is our home. You are invited. It's actually written in the poem. You are invited from another and greater night, from the one from which you just emerged. Of course, the spirit night. Now, looking through the slanting light of the morning window towards the mountain present of everything that can be, what urgency calls you to your one love? Urgency as in your deepest longings that are working and that are doing the work of soul, are courting and calling soul closer to your consciousness. These urgencies. Paying attention to these urgencies is paying attention to your soul. Is it waiting in the fertile sea, in the trees beyond the house, in the life you can imagine for yourself, in the open and lovely white page on the writing desk? There are many, many ways to embody soul. Soul is an image, and there are many ways of embodying it. And for David Whyte, who is a poet, his soul is waiting for him in the open and lovely white page on the writing desk. This is how his seed is being manifested in the world. So hopefully this is giving you a glimpse of what soul is. Our soul, our place in the cosmos, we can say, or our ultimate truth, is something we were born with, or better maybe said, we are born for, or we are born as, and perhaps does not change during this lifetime. As another poem says, there is a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. Soul doesn't change. But our conscious understanding of our soul, that for sure changes. For example, we start life with no conscious knowledge of our soul. And although we are not conscious of it, innately we have this desire, this desire for living a meaningful life. And somewhere along the journey, the call to meaning, the call to significance ushers us into traveling and diving into mysteries, into the darkness, into the underworld, spiraling down. The underworld terrains where soul lives. This is what brings soul closer to our consciousness. The dangerous, maybe, travel. And soul holds our potential, holds our truth, as the poem and as I previously have said. And soul is waiting for us to be ready enough. To be ready enough. There is the need of a certain foundation of wholeness of our resources to be embodied by us, so that the vitality of soul can crack us open. And by saying this, crack us open, soul would grab on anything to make their entrance really in our life. Will search for life events that it can show up. Maybe it's moving from one country to another country, or maybe giving up your job, or maybe separating from a partner, from a life partner, or maybe through an illness, or through a disease, or through giving birth. Soul is searching for a certain crack to make its way in your life. And we have to have the maturity to hold this dangerous, dark terrain, to say yes, to really say yes to its image and to its truth and to its poetry. And embodying soul, our soul in the world, is feeling the utter and ultimate belonging to this earth. That place of belonging is us offering our soul as a gift to others. Yeah. These are some sparkles from my side about soul. And yeah, I'm inviting Eleni maybe to continue here.
I'm just taking the thread you just gave, Sandra, that It's a way of belonging into the world, and the way Bill Plotkin sees soul is as an ecological niche, which means that we are finding this is our unique way of being in the ecosystem. So it's merely how can I say differently? It's not at all a work or a social role. So it's about finding our unique contribution into the ecosystem of this earth and beyond, and serve the whole earth through that, uh, which is the way we embody it. And it's not a particular job description, because it's two different things. Maybe we have our job the way it is, but soul manifests far beyond the job, and hopefully it manifests into how we are, how we move, how we breathe, how we speak or not speak. Um, so yeah, it's yeah, I just love this idea of ecological niche, purpose, meaning, and soul comes to us as Sandra said. She soul, she meaning soul, is looking for the cracks to arrive. So there is a kind of erotic energy going between soul wanting to arrive to us, but there is also ego longing to merge with the soul. And maybe ego is not fully ready at some moments, but this this pull between the two will be um, um, well, tormenting us and troubling us with a very good cause. And once we are ready, then we can just embark on this downward spirituality, dark descent to, and in which we are waiting with our hands cupped, as that poem said, until that song, which is our life, falls into our hands, and we recognize it and we greet it and we say, oh, finally now I understand more who I am, who I'm born to be. Yeah. And again, without soul in life, we do feel incomplete. We do feel restless. Something is again missing. Um, Maybe we are connected with the oneness of the spirit, and yet we, together with the oneness, we're still looking for that, maybe the deepest authenticity that exists, which is our unique way of being in the world, our unique image, our unique myth, our unique symbol. Yeah, and this particular knowledge of what we are born to do and born to be. I'm just curious if you feel now soul. Maybe soul comes in this moment. Maybe soul finds a crack now with your participation in this workshop to stir a little bit the inner terrains and the inner psychic realms, and just trouble you and invite you and lure you into the fruitful darkness of your soul. Hopefully, maybe, who knows.
Another idea here, not that they were not enough, but it's so yummy, isn't it? I mean, for me at least, it's so yummy to speak about soul, about the utter place of belonging in this earth, on this earth. Traveling in the dark terrains of soul, after one finds a glimmer, a sense, an image, a part of soul, everything really is changed. their identity is shape-shifted through that encounter. And we are using, because soul can, I mean, we are trying now to explain what soul is, but everyone's unique soul is really, really hard to be described in words, in a cognitive way. And yeah, we can imagine that soul can be described in a poetic way, in a mythological way. And this, we are referring to soul and this new identity as a mythopoetic identity, an identity that is belonging to the consciousness of soul and holding hands with the consciousness of spirit, for sure. So everything changes. Although maybe after the encounter with soul, maybe your, the shape of your body, even the clothes that you're wearing might not change, but everything else changes. The attitude, the way you approach life. And by saying life, I'm saying life, the I don't know, capital L, humans, but also more than humans, ideas, yourself. Everything is informed or should be informed by soul. What you can plan, what your ego can plan, is too small for you to live. What your soul instructs you to live, that's the true gift of your existence here on earth. Yeah. And it's so worth doing the journey. It's so worth, as if it's the biggest and most important love affair of our life. Of course, we're dedicating everything we have and own to this journey. Of course, and it requires that, exactly that, to give everything of us. And the results are plenty. Okay, hopefully some of these stirrings are reaching your soul, who is knocking always at your door, is not giving up of you. Maybe the soul, is hearing all these words. And as life is going by and is passing by, they will knock, and the call, you are going to hear it not once, but many times as needed, until the end of your life, if necessary. It's not a missed opportunity. It's always in the spiral, in the circle, coming on and on to you.
Just so wonderful. I mean, for me at least, I'm like listening to these. I'm being visited by muse now, and say this and say that. And yet, the more we speak, it doesn't have to make sense with the mind. Hopefully, it makes sense more with your body, or maybe with your imagination, or with the questions that arise within you now. And yet we still want to go a step further. We want to continue with this idea that soul and spirit are both, let's say, placed on a vertical axis, on a spiral that is moving from the heavens to the depths, from the light to the darkness, from the oneness to the uniqueness, and they both form spirituality. They both create, encompass, embody spirituality, as if one cannot really exist without the other, as if soul is the seed coming from spirit, and by finding our unique seed, our unique soul, we're also serving spirit. So you see that these ones are maybe cyclical rather than linear. They are moving. They are inviting us to stretch up and stretch down, and and be in conversation with both of them. And it's a vertical axis, meaning that it's a transpersonal axis, meaning that it's an invitation, it's a way of being that maybe does not have direct contact with other human beings, although we do serve the human beings and the whole ecosystem through them. But it's not about how we interact necessarily with the other, with the community, as ego finds its way to interact with them. But brings us rather into other states of consciousness. So these two have the capacity to bring us into other state of consciousness. And from this other state of consciousness, we can draw the resources, the innate resources that we're all gifted with. So yeah, there is a kind of awakening in both of them, a kind of moving. Um, One spirit might bring us into transcendence, which is becoming one with the divine. And there is Thomas Berries who firstly said, firstly coined the word incidence, meaning coming back to ourselves, coming back to the inner landscapes and the unique seeds. So one is ascending and the other is descending. One is becoming one, the other one is one with everything else, and the other one is becoming really, really unique. And yet both bring us into the other states of consciousness where the sacred worlds are, where sacred terrains are, where holy things, and the word things is really small now, but holy things, miracles are being found. We love the word impossibilities. With Sandra, we have been speaking about them, about these two lately, the possible impossibilities. So this is where these two bring us, and they are interconnected because they bring us into these possible impossibilities, possible miracles, possible wonders. That basically our mind cannot explain, but somewhere deeply we know of their wisdom and their importance and their holiness, and we're longing for these ones. Does it make sense what I'm saying, or at least does it feel do you feel called for this one? Just I'm curious. I see some of you nodding. Oh, thank you. Sandra, would you like to move on?
Yeah, about this pair, about this soul and spirit pair. I just recently being next to the sea, this image came to me, that soul and spirit are serving each other, and a sea, an ocean is nothing without the every drop of water. And I kind of feel like soul and spirit are similar, like the ocean being the spirit and every drop of water being the soul. What is ocean without every single drop of water? Kind of nothing, right? Just a big hole, an empty void. So I like to imagine that there is a desire as well as a demand for us to show up in our magnificence in the world. And the desire maybe belongs to the spirit, and the demand belongs to soul, for us to show up, to do whatever we were born to do, to make manifest our seed. Yes. And there's a quote, and again, it involves waves, as you can see. I'm enchanted by them lately. So I will just read the quote because it's I don't want to miss any word. And it goes like this: the heart's wave could not curl and break beautifully into the foam of spirit unless the ageless silent rock of destiny stood in its path. The heart's wave could not curl and break beautifully into the foam of spirit unless the ageless silent rock of destiny stood in the path. To me, this quote speaks about soul and spirit living together and needing each other. There's the wave that we could say maybe that it belongs to the spirit. There's the wave that is so wide and so comes from the oneness, and it needs the silent rock of destiny to break uniquely into the foam that the wave is making. With other words, an individual can be completely unique through the complexity of the relationships it has with the environment and with the cosmos. We need each other. That's my point here. Soul needs spirit and spirit needs soul. Yeah. Hopefully these are blending in a way or another well, or intriguing. That's also possible and even desired. Maybe it's not crystal clear, and it shouldn't be, because those are beautiful realms that we are inviting you to be curious about and to wonder about. So don't you worry if you are troubled or a little bit maybe confused. Everything is welcomed. And also, if you're allured and drawn to these levels of consciousness and places where we feed upon.
I feel called to share one more quote after the quote Sandra shared, just to sprinkle a little bit more here, by William Johnston. In the purified tranquility of darkness, the soul goes down to the very center of its own being, nakedly to encounter God, who secretly dwells in silent love at the sovereign point of the spirit. In the purified tranquility of darkness, the soul goes down to the very center of its own being, nakedly to encounter God, who secretly dwells in silent love at the sovereign point of the spirit. I love this idea that it's descending down to find soul, and guess what? To find God, just there. So that's just one more idea, and allow me please a bit more, because I find this one really important, that spirituality sometimes is explained through religion, but the way we maybe speak about spirituality today, about soul and spirit, maybe goes beyond the framework of religion. At least this is how I see it. That goes far, far beyond, religion of any kind. And it does, because it holds these impossible questions, these huge questions of life. That's what that's what soul and spirit do. That's the whole spectrum of the whole spiral of spirituality is inviting us to do, to hold impossible questions. Is there a God? What am I here to do on this earth? Am I fully living? And so on and so on and so on. And in this thread, there was also John Welwood, who is a Buddhist teacher and psychotherapist, who coined the term spiritual bypassing, as if nowadays the way spirituality is perceived by majority, or even religion is perceived by majority, is to use the lightness without the darkness of spirituality, to use um, the transcendence without the soul, and that's the majority of how it is perceived, to connect with God as if God is not also soul, and God, and we're living in a world who maybe many bodies are looking for soul, and to go there, we need also this underworld spirituality of fruitful darkness, of decaying and going into wounds and dark places of our psyche where the gifts are. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this idea that maybe there is a tendency for spiritual bypassing, going on one side rather than the other side. Therefore, it's not a full spectrum, it's not a full spiral of spirituality.
For now, we have a poem for all of us that speaks to what we just spoke, because it's so interconnected. Everything is so interconnected. And yeah, I don't know how they do it, but poems are having this marvelous way of speaking and underlining some deep truths. So here is this one, and it's by Mariah Rilke, this poem, and it's called God Speaks to Each of Us. God speaks to each of us as he makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. These are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longing, embody me. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me nearby in the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. God speaks to each of us as he makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. These are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longing, embody me. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me nearby in the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. Thank you for this poem. I love it. What if God is really God, Goddess? What if they are really speaking to us as they are making us? What if there is a message that they are dimly whispering for us to hear? And there is no more place for what if. Let's embrace this. There is a message. There is a voice of the God and the Goddess that is whispered to us, and we are dimly hearing. And let's just now, through a practice, try to remember that voice. Try to connect with that voice of God, Goddess, that is whispering us and that is holding our hands, that is instructing us. Everything, let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Don't let yourself lose me. And so on. So now with this practice that you are actually going to be invited to do it now, we are inviting you to write a letter for yourself, a letter that is written by God and by Goddess themselves, as if God and Goddess is writing you a letter. A letter that is signed by the Spirit, by this vastness, intelligence, by this capacity to love life in such a way. I don't know how you want to start your letter. Maybe, dear beloved son of mine, dear miracle, dear beauty, dear magnificent seed, comma, and then continue the letter. Maybe it's a note, because maybe you will not have the time to write the whole letter, but it is a deep time for connecting you with Spirit, with God, Goddess, and allow and have the courage to write yourself a letter from this perspective. Okay, so we are letting yourself for maybe 4 or 5 minutes or so in the company of Spirit, in the company of God, and meet you back after 4 minutes. And know that this is a practice that connects you to Spirit, connects you to this divine love, that makes you feel that you are not a troubled guest on this earth, but that you were invited from a deeper and larger world. And keep on writing. I mean, maybe now you're having a pause, but maybe after the workshop tomorrow, make it a practice, make it a weekly practice to write a note to yourself from the Spirit, from the divine. Thank you for saying yes to this practice.
Yes. And this practice leads us into another practice, which is a story, which is diving into a story, which is opening our hearts and our souls and our bodies for listening a story. A very old story, actually, that pushed her way. The story pushed her way to arrive here with us. So yeah, the same way we open ourselves to poems now, let us open ourselves to the story, to the magic. You might want to listen to the entire story with closed eyes, so that the other eyes, the imagination eyes, can see better. Or you may find your own way of deeply listening to this story. So here we start. I'm inviting you to come with us into the place where the story begins, in a place far in your imagination and yet very nearby, deep within your own landscapes. Come there where there is a village of which the houses are made out of mud. The streets are narrow, and from the walls of every house, from the yards of every house, branches of trees fall in the street. And maybe if you walked in the streets, you would see juicy, succulent fruits just being dropped there, hanging from the branches of the trees in this wall. The sun shines down on the orchards, on the fruits, on the streets in the daytime, and in the nighttime, when the sky is covered with stars, you may hear the roaring sounds of wild animals in the distance. Somewhere there lives a young woman who is pure like the fresh snow, a young woman who is longing to become a mother, and whose spirits have arrived to tell her that finally, after a long time of waiting, or little time of waiting, who knows, she is gifted with a miracle in her womb. A young woman who now holds in her womb a new life coming from the heavens, from the Spirit, blessed, endowed with gifts, charismatic, just like all of us, just like you exactly. This is how this new life in the womb of this young mother is. And there, in that house where they live, the belly of this woman starts growing and growing. And they know that the threshold of pregnancy is soon going to end, and another threshold of motherhood is soon going to begin, of motherhood and parenthood. And we think that 9 months is a long time, but 9 months might be a very short time. And in the end of these 9 months, on a night of no moon, and yet full of stars and planets and comets, on that night, a young child is born. A young child is born and is crossing the threshold of spirit into this material, physical life. He's blessed with soul, of course, but he still doesn't know. He's just freshly arrived, and all he does is be innocent and cry. And all that the community does is to arrive to him from far distance and from nearby, to offer him gifts of great importance, gifts that are needed in this lifetime. So here comes now a little boy into this world in that village, tasting the milk of his mother for the first time, tasting the air for the first time, looking with his wide eyes the whole world. Can you see that boy? his innocence, presence, the way he's held in the nest of his mother and father, in the nest of the village, somewhere there in your imagination. Mm.
And this boy, similarly to how you were a child, is a joy, to their parents, and is a joy to the community and really to the whole world. The gifts of the innocence, the gifts of how he is bringing spirit into the community is priceless. And time is doing what time does best, passing by, while this child, this boy, is taken care of by his parents, learning, discovering, exploring the world, familiarizing himself with the community, knowing all its members, where the alchemist is living and where the priestess is living and where the witches are living and where the aunts and uncles are living. Really being raised by the whole village. And soon enough, this miracle of a child, this innocent boy, soon grows up into a young man, more and more curious about the way the world is weaved, trying to understand it, trying to fit in, maybe even perhaps trying to belong to his community, to make himself of use. He's trying this and he's trying that, as I am sure you have also tried to find your place. Learning, growing, glowing in the dark, exploring, becoming, maybe even choosing. Sometimes through accomplishments and sometimes through failures. As one of the poems says, let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. And so he did. And this boy, young boy right now, being quite inspired by what his father was working, being quite inspired by the art of carving wood, our young man diligently starts to learn from his own father the way of crafting wood. And after months, and who knows, maybe after years of practice, he becomes a successful carpenter. And here he is, content of his work and of the recognition that his contribution is bringing to the community. Life is sweet right now, and everything seems to flow kind of effortlessly. Life is good, no big complaints. Every day is similar to the other day. And so, perhaps, maybe because of this, he feels that there is something utterly missing from his life. Some void, some kind of sensorial void he feels inside his body, inside his stomach area. He knew, as all human creatures know on this earth, as you know also, that life had more flavor, had more spiciness. that he wanted to taste. He was hungry for that specific flavor so that he could fully live this life. And here we are. This young man is turning 30 years old and he becomes a man connected to his body, connected and living a life that is not bad, in integrity, with appreciation for his family, with appreciation for his work, and right now with a new real calling. A calling that is difficult to understand, though, but maybe you can understand it. That kind of calling. That kind of calling that is ushering him into a place of questions. Into a place of questions, deep questions. Not the kind of questions that are, how do you do? But rather questions that can make or unmake a life, questions that have no right to go away. Am I fully living what I meant to live? He started being called, drawn by the deep darkness, by the edges of the community, by the deep forest. He started being enchanted by the moon and by how the seasons are enriching his life and gifting him every day with a new question, with a new wonder. So he spends his day more and more in solitude, in the forest, on the hills, wandering, getting lost, maybe even tormenting the deep questions that were just increasing in number. Does this world have something to offer to me? And do I have something utterly important to offer in return? Staring at the moon as you might have done previously, writing poetry as you might done also previously, almost drunk with the impossibility to find some deep and deeper spark of his life. He decides, and now I wonder, is he the one deciding? But let's call it that he decides to honor his questions and to go in a quest. To go in a quest in order to find out who he really is. So here we are for the very first time in his entire life. He's leaving behind everything that was familiar. He's leaving behind everything that was familiar and that he knew, the community and everything that was in the community, the people, the ways of being, his life as a carpenter. And he ventures onto the wild terrains, willing to offer himself to mystery. And he starts by offering himself to a river, to the river. And you might recall a time in your life when you were next to a river, next to those kind of blessed waters that can represent a perfect threshold. So similarly to you, he felt that power of the waters and he entered the waters. And with every step he was taking, he was letting go to one piece of his previous life. as he was ushered deeper and deeper into these waters, he was letting his previous life as he knew it, he was letting it go, promising by maybe whispering prayers of deep commitment to the long journey into the unknown. And as he is entering now his quest naked, as if he did not know anymore who he was.
Naked again, just like the moment he was born. Naked again, as if being in complete service and surrender to the spirit and to the mystery and to the quest/questions that are troubling him. And the river now is crossed, and the river washes him away and blesses him with power and courage to go through into this terrain that is completely unknown, because there is no one else now to guide him except of his longing, except of his desire, except of his questions. And he wanders into the wild landscapes until he feels called to dwell into a particular one, into a particular landscape, which is called desert. In the desert, he finds himself, and he's thinking, why did I choose this place to dwell, to be, to exist? Have you ever been in a desert? The conditions there are really, really rough. You may imagine him walking in the burning sun, under the boiling sun, in the middle of the day. You may imagine him being completely thirsty. As he's looking for his questions, for the answers to his questions, he's also looking for water. And maybe sometimes he's lucky, he finds some oases and gathers a bit of water, but guess what? In the middle of the night, the water freezes, so he cannot drink it. The night is harsh. The night is cold. And the night is full of dangers, as he's exposed to all the wild animals that live in the desert and wait for the night to do their hunt. So there he is. Life is going on only in the dark, and in the night, in the daytime, he can only find bones of the ones maybe who died the previous night, wondering, will my time come tonight? Will my death arrive tonight? So there he is, in fear and encouraged to still continue looking for answer to his questions. Meanwhile, his body is consumed. Meanwhile, he's being offered to the mystery. He becomes the food of the mystery. And the mystery is feeding on him, and the spirit is feeding on him, and the spirit looks at him from up above in the heavens and just celebrates what he is doing. And this one is looking for his soul, looking for the deepest questions of life. And maybe this is what he spoke to his soul. I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing, Wait, without love, for love would be love of the wrong thing. There is yet faith, but the faith and the love and the hope are all in the waiting. Wait without thought, for you are not ready for thought. So the darkness shall be the light, and the stillness shall be the dancing. Whisper of running streams and winter lightning, the wild thyme unseen and the wild strawberry unseen. The laughter in the garden echoed ecstasy, not lost. Not lost, this one is not lost, is requiring, pointing to the agony of death and birth. These are words of T.S. Eliot, but maybe these are also words of the young man who was in the desert waiting to be found by his soul. Not lost, but requiring, pointing to the agony of death and birth. And you guessed it right, because he was tempted. His little ones within him, little voices within him, were tormenting him. They were saying things like, you are going to die here, obviously. You're losing so much weight. There is scarcity of water. The conditions are really harsh. What are you doing? Just go back home. Go back to the village. It was good enough to be there. There was no trouble and no risk. Why do you need to be here? The risks and the dangers are so high. And as high as the dangers, the same high are the longing, the desires, the pull to stay there, the soul calling him louder and louder. Be here, do not go away.
And as he's making himself available, offering himself to the utmost unknown, everything is speaking to him. The earth, the sky, every branch of the desert trees, every root of the desert trees. And out of nowhere, really, very mysteriously, he hears something, but not merely with his ears. He sees something, but not really with his eyes. He feels something, but not with the external part of the skin. But from somewhere inside, he hears for the very first time, you, the one showing the path to transformation and the divine, you, the one showing the path of transformation and divine, you, showing path, transformation, divine, you, transformation, divine. Everything stopped when he was hearing these words in a non-human way. Everything stops, and he was utterly scared, terrified. What am I hearing? What is this? No, this cannot be true. But as he was speaking and whispering truth on his lips, he knew from the deep, deep place in his heart that those words are indeed something that deeply resonates with him, the one who shows the path to transformation and the divine. The burden Those words were as much a burden as a blessing. He couldn't decide which one is weighting more heavily. Are these words a blessing or are they a burden? Both. Both, of course. At first, really, he denied them. He tried even to say no. It was just my imagination. No, this cannot be true. This is too big for me to hold. I'm merely a human, and yet he felt of the spirit. He felt that he was some certain kind of God who could indeed embody this in the world. But how? It was too much for him to feel into. A huge responsibility. But now, life as he knew it was forever transformed, shifted. Little did he know, actually, how life would be transformed for him. And yet there was a sense that he cannot go back to sleep anymore. He cannot go back to the little life that he had just before he traveled and crossed the water. Together with this, the one who shows the path to transformation and the divine, came more and more gifts. We could say that they came in the form of powers, of maybe soul powers. Seeing deeply into him, he realized that he has a gift of listening deeply. He has another gift of fully loving the world, humans and more than humans. He has a gift of being humble, being a servant. He has a gift of courage and faith, of bringing justice and believing in the transformation. Oh, all of those he was in conversation with and being witnessed and held and supported by the wild desert that by now became his home, his utter home of belonging. After 40 days of inquiring in this deep torment and the huge blessing, he felt that the time for his quest was complete and that he found, or he was found, by that which he was searching, by that which was embedded in all these questions that he brought with him onto his quest. So he was found. If the desert is holy, it is because it is a forgotten place that allows us to remember the sacred. Perhaps that is why every pilgrimage to the desert is a pilgrimage to the self. There is no place to hide, and so we are found. And so he was found. And he felt the calling to go back to the village, to go back to his community, and yet not merely the same. Nothing of him was the same.
The story says that he crossed the same river again, that his feet brought him back to the same river that he crossed some days ago. But the way he was returning, the one he was returning had nothing to do with the one who was going 40 days ago. Now he enters himself into the cold, refreshing waters, and he drinks, and his body is nourished, and his longing is to return to his village more and more. So the river blesses him once more, and he walks and he goes back to his community, back to uh, back to the life he had, but not that life. Back to the same building, but not the same person. Maybe some parts of his molecules were the same, but he was entirely shifted and transformed. And now he was finding himself in another quest or challenge or inquiry, another invitation from mystery, because the more he discovered about himself, the more now he had to incorporate it. He was feeling this responsibility to put it into the world, but how? That was a new question. How? Mystery spirit, show me, how can I become the one who transforms, the one who leads to divinity? And so it seemed that he started practicing different ways of being. The carpentering was long gone. He did not have any more interest for that. He was looking for other ways of being in the world, as if he remembered what he was gifted from Spirit 30 years ago on that night with no moon but full stars. And he started trial and error, trying to find his gifts, now crafting not wood, but crafting his own way of being into the world. He was trying to teach and share his own wisdom with the world, and seemed like this was a beautiful, needed medicine for the community. People were becoming familiar with his presence, and from far they were coming to meet this one who heals. As healing has become one of his practices, he has become a medicine man, a healer, someone who welcomes the ones who are in pain, and supports them, shifts them, alchemizes them, makes magic with them in such a way that they can go on in their life, in their own quest, in full capacity, in full wholeness. He was a true believer of inclusiveness, of equality, of love. There was no boundary. There was no, you are not allowed and you are allowed. His soul, his heart was pure, and his embrace was huge as the Spirit embrace, and welcomed everybody and served everybody through the magic he was doing. A magic that was actually alchemizing one thing into another, with the intention of what? Serving, feeding, holding, loving, creating, offering possibilities, giving second chances, forgiving, believing in the one seed that every single person holds within them. You could say that he was a soul guide through his ways of being, a guide that leads people to their soul. But the more he was practicing and crafting these ways of being, the more his ego was needed to enlarge, to grow and embrace more and more of these ways of being in the world. As if there was a new requirement now of the ego and his soul to get in a sacred marriage, to serve each other, to hold each other, and then making this way of being um, a soul manifestation. Mm.
Utterly living from the roots of his soul, he is appreciated, recognized by the community. His gifts are a blessing for, well, almost all the community, because to be honest, some were quite threatened by him. Some were quite scared by his powers, by his mysteriousness. Who is this one? They were wondering. They were asking. Especially because he was actually a revolutionist. He had by now the power to change the status quo, to transform the cultural ways, to bring back new perspectives, shifting the consciousness of the ones he was working with, of the ones he was healing, of the ones he was doing the magic for. He was, in other words, also a troublemaker for the ones that didn't want change, that were benefiting from the things to not change. And so, as long as he lived, until the very end of his life, he served. He was faithful to his soul. He was faithful to his soul powers. And that empty void place in his stomach was nowhere to be found, but instead was filled with fulfillment and meaning and significance. But threatening the system, threatening the cultural ways, the leaders of those times were in strong disapproval of his way of being. As the months were passing, they were getting more and more scared by the possible consequences of his soul work. So his life now was in danger. And many people tried to help him, to protect him, to offer their own houses for hiding him in their own houses. But not much time later, he paid the risk of living by his soul, with his very own life, despite all the protection that the humans around him wanted to offer him. He indeed ended his life by being executed, by being murdered, by being killed by the leaders and the governmental forces of those times. And he died. He died. His body maybe died. I mean, for sure died, but something of him did not die. And this is a very, very, very old story. And to this day, something of him did not die. His soul lives still nowadays as a legacy forever, because really soul never dies. His and your own. The ripples of his soul, we can feel them still now in these present times, even in this very moment. Just like what happens with every soul that is embodied honored and found. Mm. 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 So it's a journey of soul. It's a journey of man, of a man who died and of a man who never really died, of his soul that never died. And maybe you're wondering, we haven't, not at once, whispered this one's name. Do you have any idea, any imagination? What is his name? Who's the story? Who this story belongs to? Mm. And I myself feel trepidations to say this story. It's the story of him, but it's actually a very common story. It's the story of Jesus Christ. This was our intention to say the story of Jesus, but really not telling the name of Jesus in the beginning tells a lot about how this story is actually maybe also our story. It's a story that embraces the mere journey of soul, in which one has a calling, says yes to the calling, is transformed by the torments and the blessings, and returns, being shapeshifted and offering himself, herself, themselves to the world. This one in our story had a tragic ending, and the dangers are out there. Perhaps our story will end in a different way. Perhaps, perhaps.
And yet our souls will live forever. No matter our ending, we don't know that, but and maybe we'll never get to see the fruits of the efforts that we will be offering into the world. But maybe, but not maybe, but surely the next generations will feel the echo of what we are serving, just like what we are experiencing now as miracles. Maybe they are as gifts, as art, as blessings, as dreams. Maybe these are the legacy of other souls having already lived in this world and this ocean of spirit in which we're all coming from and all returning to. Mm. Oh, yes. So what if we spend a moment now with ourselves, and maybe with our notebook, if you have a notebook now next to you, maybe just journal a little bit what troubles you from the story, what allures you from the story. Maybe this duo, what allures you and what troubles you, what invites you and what challenges you, what scares you and what pulls you. You find your own, you choose your own pair of words. But spend a moment with your notebook uh, and in silence.
So just maybe making a little pause from your journaling, not really stopping here, because it's not by coincidence that we have said that this story is, yeah, Jesus's story, and it can be a very similar story of yours. And we are inviting you tomorrow to join us as well, to experiment and feel how his journey is actually the journey of soul, and we all are gifted and blessed with soul. So we might have similar journeys. We might go through similar journeys. And now Eleni and I, we are deeply grateful and thankful for your presence here in this circle and here in this world that desperately needs you, the shape of you. And let's conclude and finalize this moment, this time together, this time spent together, with maybe taking your candle, if you had one, if you lead one, taking your candle closer to you, closer to your eyes. Maybe even imagining that this fire could be the fire of your soul being held by the air that is the spirit. And all our actions are ushering us deeper and deeper into soul and spirit. So bless your presence here in this circle. Let's blow the candle together. As a way and as a sign of coming to an end in our ceremony, in our whispers of soul and spirit. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
And a gentle reminder from my side to everyone to exit the temple in their own way, to make sure that the transition from this world to the other world is smooth and brings with you all the nutrients that should not be forgotten tonight, today, wherever you are. And maybe invite dreams to come to you tonight, to stir more what has already been stirred here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Blessings.